Good morning, everyone. So for today, we will be discussing about the Mongolian Empire.
Let me read to you the introduction. Philippe go to North Central Asia. Beginning with a study of the empire of Genghis Khan, we will discover the largest land empire that covered half the world from Asia to East Europe and its legacy. Then we will look at today's Mongols, who are living in the Republic of Mongolia and in Chinese province of Inner Mongolia. Okay, let me read to you the introduction. We leave South Asia.
Okay, so in this slide, we have here the Mongol Empire. So on a high plateau in Central Asia lies Mongolia, a landlocked country between Siberia on the north and China on the south. The land has three landscapes, so it is the icy forest mountains of the tundra, the Gobi Desert, and the grassy steppes ideal for pasturing animals. So about 1000 BC, the climate became colder and no longer allowed stationary herding. Hence, early tribes became nomadic and crossed the Siberian Mongolia land. It was a barren land full of independent nomadic tribes, known as the Mongols, Mong or Brave. They were tough and fearless nomadic race who boasted that they descended from a blue wolf. So, ang Mongolia guys, it is a landlocked country. So, may aram siya nga tatlo ka landscapes, which is the icy forest mountains of the tundra, the Gobi Desert, and the grassy steppes. So, ang mga Mong people is nag-aalaga gid na sila yasang animals dati. So bali they relied on their animals which is for example is ang mga sheep. So galaga na sila ang horse um companion gina nila every time nga may mga war sila nga kadtuan. So they basta gaalaga sila sa mga different animals. So so 'di ba may tatlo ka landscapes ang Mongolia, isa na dira ang grassy steppes. So kung kaalaga ka animal, so 'di ba kinahanglan mo gid is sa land nga inang sa grassy type of land. So para mabuhi ang imo nga animals ang ginaalagaan. Pero sa 1000 BC kuno, ang climate is nag-change, so bali naging malamig and hindi so it means na hindi na diriya mabuhi ang animals. Sa mga Hmong people is bali naging nomadic tribe sila. So when we speak of nomadic tribe, wala na sila nag-stay sa isang lugar, so they papalit-palit na sila sa places. So, ginaobra na nila para ang ilang animals is mabuhi. So, gusto nila nga ma-survive ang animals nila. So, kinanglan nga mag-move sila sa places nga suitable nga mabuhi ang mga ginaalagaan nila nga mga animals. So, that's why they call nga ginatawag sila nga nomadic people. And since nga ang mga Hmong people is dira lang sila garilay sa ilang mga sa ilang animals, so in favor nga ma-survive kinahanglan nila mangita sang area nga mabuhi or nga maging comfortable ang ginalagaan nila. So they search for waters and they search for grasslands for the sake of their animals. Mina. Okay, so they live in a portable round tents called yurt or gur, made of animal skin and wandered from place to pasture herds of cattle, horses, goat, and sheep. The Mongol tribe warred with everybody, each other and outsiders. For centuries, they wowed without government laws, arts, or religion. They excelled in fighting, archery, and horse racing. So, as you can see there guys, may aral ko dira nga gin-insert nga picture and amo na ang tsura sang ilang nga ginaistaran. So, ginatawag na nila nga yurt or gur. So, ang ina nga tent guys is made up of animal skin. Sa mga Hmong people, dira na sila ga-star dati. And also ang mga Hmong people is dati iya kuno wala ni sila sang government, so wala na sila sa mga government laws, wala man ni sila sang arts kag religion, pero ang mga Hmong people is kilala ni sila in terms of fighting, archery, and horse racing. Along came with a young orphan with a destiny of greatness. Temujin, son of a Mongol chieftain, was born clutching blood in his hands and suffered a difficult childhood. In 1206, Temujin united the Mongol tribes, gave them a form of government and laws, as well as infamous identity as the Yellow Pearl. He became Genghis Khan, or the Great Khan, the universal ruler. Okay, so si Temujin, amo ni siya ang bata sang Mongol chieftain. So sa 1206, since ang Hmong people is wala sila sang government, wala sila sang form of government, kag wala sila sa mga laws. So sang naging Genghis Khan si Temujin sang 1206. So nag-proclaim siya sang nation, kag ang iya nation, kag ang gin-proclaim niya nga nation is ginatawag niya ini siya nga Mongols. So balis ang naging Genghis Khan na siya, so nag-create siya sang mga laws. So some of the examples sang laws na gin-create niya is ang criminalized torture, kag ang freedom of religion, or freedom of religion. So sa freedom of religion is you have a right to choose a religion according to your choice. So wala ya gina. Okay, so bali may ang mga Hmong people is may freedom, sila yung mag-choose ang religion nga want nila. And then so maghambal kita nga Genghis Khan, so bali do leader bala, do siya na ang naging leader or ang naging universal ruler. So mina, because of Temujin, do nag-unite ang mga Hmong people. At the head of his mobile yellow army, he thundered across the steppes and conquered all of North Asia, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and North China. So at the time of his death in 1227, his empire covered nearly 26 million square kilometers, about 4 times the size of the Roman Empire or the Empire of Alexander the Great, whom he surpassed as a conqueror, and twice the size of Muslim caliphates. So Genghis Khan had gone from sleepy Mongolia to the ends of the Pacific Ocean and Caspian Sea in a matter of 60 years. Okay, so si Temujin is damo-damo ni siya sang na-conquer. Sang siya ang naging Genghis Khan, damo-damo ni siya nga country ang na-conquer. So ang mga country nga ini is ang North Asia, ang Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, kag ang North China. So when Temujin leads the Mongol Empire, he began to fight a war. So he realized that there was no end to those wars. So in order to stop the fighting kuno, he had to kill the leader every time. So amo ini ang strategy ni Temujin kung may war silang gaganapin. Basta kung may war or may fight silang pagahimuon, so ang goal niya is kuno para matapos ina nga war is kinanglan niya patyon ang leader sang iya nga kontra. So Genghis Khan continued to conquer through his life and became a greatest conqueror in the history of the world. So ang title ni Genghis Khan, since very well known gina siya dati in terms of fighting, kay ang mga Mongolian people daan dati is kilala gid ni sila kag do ginakadlukan gini sila sang ibang nation, kay basto gini sila yang when it comes sa fighting or sa war, sila gini permi ang nagadaog. So that's why nga damo-damo ang country ang na-conquered sang mga Hmong people. So amo na sang natapos ang sang napatay si Temujin, ang iyang ganito sila. So bali ang iyang legacy is wala ya nag-end. So bali nagpadayon pa iniya. So bali sang nagbulos ang iya bata napadayon pa ini niya ang legacy sang iya tatay, which is si Temujin. Compare sa kay Alexander the Great is na-conquer niya lang is 1/3 of what Temujin conquered. So the day Alexander died, his empire died with him. So sang napataya si Alexander the Great, nadula man niya ang iyang empire or nag-end man niya ang legacy niya. Pero compare mo kay Temujin is nagpadayon pa ya kag naglast pa ya sang pila ka years. The Mongolian Empire was the largest land empire that the world has ever seen. So the age of the Mongols lasted from the 13th to 14th centuries. So the death toll they caused by battle, massacre, and collateral damage is estimated at 40 million, about the same damage as World War II. Genghis Khan's conquest brought wholesale destruction on an unprecedented scale in two continents. So, ang Mongolia is ang Mongolian Empire is ang may pinakadako nga land empire dati. Okay, so let's proceed to the contribution of the Mongolian Empire. So first is ang Uyghur script, which is still used in Inner Mongolia. So ang Uyghur script is kilala ni siya subong as classical Mongolian script. And it is the only script in the world written vertically and left to right. So next is ang emergence of a unified Mongol nation and culture from a band warring tribes. So the Mongol Empire emerged from the unification of several nomadic tribes in the Mongol heartland under the leadership of Temujin. So next is the rise of Moscow in Russia due to the appointment of Muscovites as tax collectors for the Mongols. So Moscow kuno is benefited from being weak when the Mongols were strong. Okay. So, fourth is the unification of regions under Genghis Khan's successors. So, in particular, the Eastern Khanate which adopted Buddhism and the Western Khanate which adopted Islam. And next is ang spread of Mongol lineage in Asia. So, we're about 8% of Asian men or 0.5% of men in the world have the Mongol blood. So as shown by DNA testing, so about 16 million people today are said to have the Mongol bloodline. So mina ang hambal nga about 16 million kuno is may lahi nga Mongolian. Okay. The Mughal or Mughal dynasty of India and the Yuan or a Mongol dynasty of China descended from the Mongols. So next is the spread of Black Plague to Europe in the late 1340s in a pandemic that killed 75 million worldwide or about 2/3 of European population. Next or last contribution is Mongolian hordes, so killed between 30 to 40 million people in their conquests. Recorded as half of China's population in 50 years, half of the Russian population during their invasion, and half of the Hungary's population. As an historian noted, terror and mass extermination of anyone opposing them was a well-tested Mongol tactic. So, disappearance of the Mongol hordes. So, the yellow peril of the Mongol hordes faded into history with little to show for their empire. So, since the Mongols had few possessions but their horses and weapons, preferring a nomadic life to the comforts of home. So, they had a loose when they galloped into or of the pages of history. So in time, the empire of Genghis Khan and his heirs disintegrated and acquired the customs and cultures of the people whom they conquered. So another reason why the Mongol Empire faded away may be due to the fear they instilled in their enemies, so that the latter, especially the Russians and Han Chinese, made sure they erase the memory or any glory of the Mongol. So also one of the reason why nag-collapse or nag-disappear ang power sa Mongol Empire, it's because since as times goes by, naga-enlist or ginapasa-pasa na kung sino ang magiging leader. So, so, so as weaker Mongol leaders struggled to retain some control, drought, flood, famine, and the bubonic plague, eventually it contributed to the collapse of each Kane. Okay, so let's proceed to Mongolia Speaks Up. So the empire broke into Outer Mongolia, which is the north, and Inner Mongolia, which is the south. So Outer Mongolia became an independent republic locked in Russia's embrace until 1990s. So naging independent republic ni siya sang under sa Russia until 1990. While the Inner Mongolia accepted Chinese Empire Manchu rule in 1689 and became a province of China. So until now, ang Inner Mongolia is under Manisyagapon, under the control of Republic of China, Manisyagapon, that succeeded the Qing dynasty and that later became the People's Republic of China and today is province of China, Manisyagapon. Okay, so let's proceed to the land and people. The Mongolian Republic is the northern half of the two Mongolias. It was formerly a Soviet Russian ally. Now it is an independent parliamentary democracy open to the world. On a high plateau in Central Asia lies Outer Mongolia, a landlocked country between Siberia on the north and on the south. Its area is 1.5 million square kilometer and the capital is Ulaanbaatar. It is the second largest landlocked country after Afghanistan. One third of the country is the Gobi Desert, another third is forests and mountain lakes, and the last third is grassland, ideal for horses and nomadic life. The climate is dry, windy, and cold. Mongolia was formerly known as Outer Mongolia, which is China today. Mongolia was a showpiece of Soviet communism in Asia and received 1 billion annual aid from the USSR. So when we speak of USSR, it is a union of Soviet Socialist republics, and it is a powerful group of communist republic. The Mongolians are descendants of warlike Mongols and their foremost hero is still Genghis Khan, one of the world's greatest conquerors. So, ang mga Mongolian people subong is hindi nila malimtan si Genghis Khan. No longer gruff and warlike, the present-day Mongolians are mild, friendly, and hospitable. The population is about 3 million, 46 of whom are under 16 years old. It is one of the poorest and least populated countries in the world. Average income is less than $1.25 a day. So, kung ang Mongolia dati, i-compare mo subong, is very different na get. So, dati ang Mongolia is, during Mongolian Empire, they are the powerful they are the powerful country and also they are well known sa pagiging maya sa archery, sa mga horse racing. But today, ang Mongolia is a peaceful country na gidya. And also, ang mga people who are living sa Mongolia today is known for being friendly and hospitable. And also, Mongolia is today is one of the poorest and least countries in the world. The new democratic government no longer forbids the practice of religion. The main faith is Tibetan Buddhism and ancient pagan shamanism. The speech is Mongolian, written in Russian Cyrillic script. Almost everybody can read and write because of free schools and universities. Their favorite games are horse racing, archery, and wrestling. Prior communist history. Mongolia turned communist in 1924 and became the second communist state in the world after Russia. From 1924 to 1990, it was a puppet republic and close ally of the former Soviet Union. China claimed Mongolia, but in 1945, it made a treaty with Russia abandoning its claim. Thus, for a while, Mongolia had more relations with Russia than with its other Inner Mongolian cousin in China. In fact, Russia used Mongolia as a buffer zone between it and China. Okay, so when we speak of buffer zone, it is an area of land that separates two other areas and that is designed to prevent fighting or harm coming to something. As the Communist Empire crumbled in Europe, so did the winds of change sweep the Communist Empire in Central Asia. The mountainous land of 3 million people started people power revolution of opposition groups like the Philippine example in 1896. A complete transformation of the government and economy happened in Mongolia in 1989 to 1990. After the first democratic election in March 1990, the government demanded the withdrawal of Soviet troops, military bases, and nuclear missiles in the country. On December 25, 1991, the Soviet Union was disbanded and the last ties between the two countries were cut, but even before the collapse of the former USSR, communist influence in the Mongolia was finished. So today, Mongolia is a free and open country. So democracy, free elections, and religious freedom are luxuries that Mongolians now enjoy. There is multi-party parliamentary democracy with peaceful transitions of power. Okay, so let's proceed to Inner Mongolia. So China Province or Inner Mongolia or Nye Mongolia was the first autonomous region of the People's Republic of China in 1927 and is located in the country's north. Its autonomous status similar to that of Tibet, which was also later assimilated by communist China and has a restive native population. An autonomous region is actually a colony and subject to the central authority in Beijing. So China's Mongolia borders independent Mongolia and Russia to the north, but any memory of either neighbor has been all but wiped out. In fact, most of the 24 million people are Han Chinese and the Mongolians are but a substantial minority. However, there are in fact more Mongolians in this other half of Mongolia than in the independent north. So when we speak of the autonomous region, so it is one that is part of a larger political unit, but which has a great deal of self-governance. So there is the Inner Mongolia. So mas damo nga mga Chinese ang naga-star dire compare sa mga Mongolian people. Okay, let's proceed to the history of Mongolian Empire. So after Genghis Khan united the Mongols in his empire, his descendants completed the conquest of China 1279 and established the Yuan dynasty with the great Kublai Khan holding court in Beijing. Okay, so Kublai Khan was one of China's greatest emperor. So in 1368, the Ming ousted the Yuan dynasty. Interestingly enough, rebuilt the Great Wall of China along southern border of Inner Mongolia to keep out these barbarians, but the remnant of the Mongol dynasty lasted a few more centuries in Mongolia. Okay, so rulers during the Ming dynasty ceaselessly maintained and strengthened the Great Wall to prevent another Mongolian invasion. So the majority of the work took place along the old walls built by Bei Qi and Bei Wei. So the last Chinese Manchu dynasty later gained control of the area and administered Outer and Inner Mongolia under different overseers. Ordinary Mongols were not allowed to travel to the other side. Han Chinese farms were resettled and land taken away from the nomadic Mongols. Okay, so during the revolution in China, the two Mongolias continued to have different regimes. Outer Mongolia became independent and Inner Mongolia continued as province of the Republic of China. So in 1937, when war broke out with Japan, Prince Dewang turned Inner Mongolia into a puppet state of the Japanese Empire from Hebei province to the present capital of Hothot. This attempt to get away from China was short-lived. So when we speak of puppet state, so it is a government that appears independent but is actually controlled by another country. So mina ang natabo dira. So at the end of the World War II, the Communist Chinese Red Army with Soviet Army help regained control of Manchuria and Inner Mongolia and established the autonomous province in the latter region. During the Mao era, many of the nomadic lands became collective farms and the Inner Mongolians learned to live in government houses. Okay, so the region is rich in natural resources such as Kashmir, natural gas and coal and wind power generation, forestry products, chemicals, and dairy farm product, worth about $110 billion annually. So the circus acrobatic troupe is the world famous and is a favorite career for some. Okay, so sa ilagali niya tungod sa ila gali naging famous na niya ang circus acrobatic. So, diba, there sa Philippines is may nagayo man sila, diba, may mga circus. And Chinese authorities continue to use it as a showcase region with the showpiece projects riddled with corruption. While ignoring the needs of the people, the question of course is whether the two Mongolias will discover each other and their Mongol history. And that's all, guys. Thank you so much for listening to my report. And I will end this report now. Thank you guys for listening. And I hope you learned something from this empire.